I was elected as a democratic socialist, and I will govern as a democratic socialist. I will not abandon my principles for fear of being deemed radical.
Like Zohran's like the hangover of wokeism. Nancy is the hangover of TDS. She reminds me of the, like, I don't know, this might be too elitist, but if you belong at a co-op meeting or a condo meeting, she's one of the elderly tenants who comes in and just complains that the kids are making all this noise. She's at her wit's end. But this is what an addiction to one idea gets you.
Have you ever seen a big city slowly fall into political chaos? That's what's happening in New York right now, with Zohran Mamdani at the center. Just when things seem bad enough, Greg Gutfeld jumps in and explains what's really going on. It feels like watching a huge fire being fought with a tiny hose, confusing, messy, and oddly entertaining if you're just watching from afar.
Zohran Mamdani, or whatever, the Socialist Democrat nominee for New York City's mayor, identified as Black or African American when he applied to Columbia University. I guess there was no box for trust fund communist douchebag. But it didn't work. He didn't get in. He probably shouldn't have included a referral letter from this lady.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe. It really helps the channel. Now let's talk about Mayor Donnie. He came in with big promises: affordable housing, safer streets, and a better subway system. It all sounded great at the time. But Gutfeld cuts through those promises and shows the gap between what was promised and what actually happened.
Socialist Zohran Mamdani has been elected the mayor of New York City. You know, I never thought I'd be reminiscing about the good old days when Son of Sam was my dog walker. I haven't seen this many depressed New Yorkers since it got too chilly for me to wear bike shorts.
Gutfeld doesn't do subtle. He speaks directly and pulls no punches. He describes a city losing money, trust, and control all at once. It's like watching someone try to manage chaos with their eyes closed. The problems, crime, broken roads, and rising costs, keep piling up while leaders pretend everything is fine.
He says he doesn't consider himself Black at all. I guess it was that Justin Trudeau kind of Black, where you just wipe it off at the end of the day. But it raises the often ignored question: how can you claim to be oppressed when you know the claim gets preferential treatment? I mean, why would anyone voluntarily choose an identity that supposedly holds you back unless you knew it could actually move you forward? So he saw the grift, using a false disadvantage to actually get ahead.
Mamdani has said he doesn't consider himself Black, which raises serious questions. How can someone claim discrimination while also benefiting from special treatment? And why would anyone take on an identity described as a disadvantage unless it actually helps them? To many, it looks less like struggle and more like using the system for personal gain.
Is it an omen of a woke future or a ghost of a woke past? True, he really is the hangover from a decade of heinous ideas, where repeat of criminals are the victims, men can be women, and brain damage is considered a plus. But in this election, the votes cast were over 90% Democrat. That's one-party rule, a monopoly, which means it was a choice between bad and worse because there is no counterpoint to balance against extremism.
This is where Gutfeld is at his best. He doesn't just point out problems. He exposes what he sees as complete incompetence. His jokes hit hard because people are tired. From Times Square to Staten Island, New Yorkers hear the same promises again and again, but nothing changes. Crime continues, the city feels dirtier, and even the rat problem seems to be winning.
For New York City, Zohran Mamdani has introduced his all-female transition team. At least we think they're female. True, since Zohran won, there have already been a few minor changes to the city. For example, the naked cowboy has already been replaced by the naked goat. And now every play on Broadway.
The humor works because it's real. Gutfeld points at City Hall and asks a simple question: how can a world-famous city function this badly? Housing was supposed to become affordable, but rents keep rising. Construction never ends. Subways stop without warning. Buses disappear. Streets are broken. Yet leaders keep saying everything is under control.
If the party feels differently about that, as Jessica says, then they really, really gotta talk louder about it. Because that's the problem. You guys didn't speak up. You grew this monster because you were too scared to discipline it as it expanded into every facet of our lives. Imagine if you had nipped wokeism in the bud rather than waiting for us to slay it with Trump. The Democratic Party are like parents of a criminal teen who raised him without any discipline or common sense, and then you released him into the wild, i.e. our world, and now we have to deal with it, and now you're going like, yeah, I predict that when he gets the nomination,
Supporters of Mamdani often say, change takes time. That sounds nice, but the city isn't waiting, it's falling apart. Gutfeld highlights delays, poor decisions, and bad planning without softening the truth. While leaders talk about fairness and opportunity, developers benefit, bureaucracy grows, and everyday people pay the price.
he was lying to get what he wanted. Like when I used to tell women that I love them. He wasn't confused, he was calculating. Mamdani knew that applying while black could be a ticket past the velvet rope of Ivy League admissions. And that was in 2009. Since then, identity politics has exploded into a full-blown access pass for corporations, schools, girls' locker rooms.
What makes Gutfeld's show stand out is the pace. He keeps pushing forward, stacking failure after failure. Each broken promise adds to the bigger picture. Eventually, it becomes impossible to ignore. A city in disorder and a politician overwhelmed by his own ambitions.
Handpicked. By who? Who knows? We know it wasn't for his resume, he didn't have one. He's a hard left socialist with no managerial background, a disdain for capitalism and Jews. He's no different than a trust fund protester, except with a PR team and Soros's credit card. He's not even qualified to be my pool boy. Definitely not strong enough to lift me.
This isn't just local drama. It shows how city leadership really works. Gutfeld turns serious failures into sharp commentary. Housing plans fail. Safety promises disappear. Infrastructure projects stall. The jokes land because they're based on real problems that affect real people.
That you asked, do you think that Zohran will be searched or frisked before entering the White House? And I thought that's a provocative question, but you raised a good point.
What we were actually talking about in the green room is how much easier it is to change the diaper of a baby girl than a baby. That is legitimately what the talk was.
That's what we were talking about.
So Mamdani has grown up real fast.
At its core, this story is about promises versus reality. Good intentions don't mean good results. Gutfeld uses humor to show how enthusiasm without competence leads to failure. You don't even need to live in New York to understand the message. It's clear, relatable, and hard to ignore.
Connection to the city. Ask him what he loves most about New York, he'll probably say diversity. The fact that you can dine in Chinatown or Little Italy, then get mugged in 80 different languages. But diversity is not what made New York great. It's one result of the system that enabled it. Capitalism, trade, industry, which attracts people like my natural musk on a hot subway. But for leftists like Zohran, they only see the goals, not the systems. If he had been Christian who celebrated Christmas, he might never ever connect that those gifts under the tree were there because of his parents' hard work. Nope, to him, the free stuff just appears. In this case, Santa is socialism and the taxpayers are the elves.
And by the end, it's more than commentary, it's a full picture of a city struggling and leadership falling short. Gutfeld turns chaos into entertainment, but the message is serious. Broken promises, bad decisions, and real consequences. That's the story of Greg Gutfeld and Zohran Mamdani, and according to Gutfeld, the chaos is far from over.